Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Imtiaz bin Hasanan. With my group mates, we'll be presenting on question 4. Generally, this question is related to our topics on specific heat and latent heat. Hence, we will explain to you the solution towards this question and will give further insight into the related topics. An engineer is designing an ice making machine. Water enters the machine at 18 degrees Celsius. The machine cools the water and turns it into ice. It then cools the ice to a temperature of -5 degrees Celsius. Calculate the specific heat capacity of ice if 4.16 times 10 power of 5 joule of heat must be released from 1 kilogram of water by the machine for the whole process. Given specific heat of water is 4.186 times 10 power of 3 joule kilogram power of -1 Kelvin power of -1. Latent heat of fusion for ice is 3.3 times 10 power of 5 joule kilogram power of -1 Kelvin power of -1. The first thing that we must do to solve this question is by extracting the information given in this question. Based on the question that I've read, 4.16 times 10 power of 5 joule heat energy is released from the water. The negative sign is must to indicate that heat energy is released from the system. Hence, we get Q is equal to -4.16 times 10 power of 5 joule. Then, we are also given the mass of water, which is 1 kilogram, and the specific heat capacity of water, which is 4.186 times 10 power of 3 joule kilogram power of -1 Kelvin power of -1. Since the freezing point of water is 0 degrees Celsius, the final temperature of the water would be 0 degrees Celsius. The initial temperature of the water is given, which is 18 degrees Celsius, and the latent heat of fusion of water is 3.3 times 10 power of 5 joule kilogram power of -1. Mass of ice would be the same as water since all the water changed into ice completely. Thus, the mass of ice is 1 kilogram. Given also the final temperature of ice is -5 degrees Celsius, while we know the initial temperature of ice is 0 degrees Celsius. Based on the question and variable given, it is clearly stated that we need to find the specific heat capacity of ice. We are given the total heat energy that is released. We know that the total heat energy released are including the energy released to reduce the temperature of 1 kilogram of water from 15 degrees Celsius to 0 degrees Celsius. The energy released during the phase change of 1 kilogram of water to 1 kilogram of ice, the energy released to reduce the temperature of 1 kilogram of ice from 0 degrees Celsius to -5 degrees Celsius. Substitute the formula into our first equation and we get the expansion of variables that we need to substitute and find as follows. Next, we substitute all the value given into the formula. Now, we can see that the only unknown that we need to find is sea ice, which is the specific heat capacity of ice. After completing the first operation, the energy released to reduce the temperature of 1 kilogram of water from 15 degrees Celsius to 0 degrees Celsius is -75,348 joule. The energy released during the phase change of 1 kilogram of water to 1 kilogram of ice is -3.3 times 10 power of 5 joule. The energy released to reduce the temperature of 1 kilogram of ice from 0 degrees Celsius to -5 degrees Celsius is -5 degrees Celsius kilogram times sea ice. The combination of these three would give the total heat energy release, which is 4.16 times 10 power of 5 joule. After solving this step, we found that the exact value of energy released to reduce the temperature of 1 kilogram of ice from 0 degrees Celsius to -5 degrees Celsius is -10,652 joule. Finally, solving our last step, we could find the specific heat capacity of ice, which is 2.1304 times 10 power of 3 joule kilogram power of -1 Kelvin power of -1.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Syahmi Aiman. So, the first concept that is used in this question is specific heat capacity. The definition of specific heat capacity is the heat capacity per unit mass. Specific heat capacity is a measure of how thermally insensitive a substance is to the addition of energy. So, the greater a material's specific heat, the more energy must be added to a given mass of the material to cause a particular temperature change. The formula for the specific heat capacity is C equals to Q over M delta T. As shown in the diagram of graph, the specific heat capacity are the ones that are circled. So, thank you very much.
My name is Mohammed Haziq. The next concept of this question is latent heat. Latent heat occur when transfer of energy does not result in change of temperature. Physical characteristic of the substance change, or we can call it as phase change. There is two types of latent heat. First is latent heat of fusion, where substance change from solid to liquid. Second is latent heat of vaporization, where substance change from liquid to gas. And formula of the latent heat is L equal to Q over M. Based on graph, we can see latent heat as the horizontal line.
For the final part, I will tell you about Islamization. So, this one is about latent heat. As matter can change in physical state, this literally bring out benefit to surrounding environment such as rain that were made from grass. It is Allah who sends the winds, which then stir up vapor, forming clouds, which He then spreads out in the sky, or piles up into masses as He wills, from which you see rain come forth. Then, as soon as He causes it to fall on whoever He wills of His servants, they rejoice. Last but not least, it is about specific capacity from Islamic perspective. We know that every matter have different specific capacity, and so as water. Water has a high specific capacity. It absorbs a lot of heat before it begins to get hot. You may not know how that affects you, but the specific heat of water has a huge role to play in the Earth's climate and helps determine the habitability of many places around the globe. So that's all from us. Thank you and bye.